With the basic structure of my eye starting to take form inside of my bear model here, I'm ready to use the Dyntopo tools to interactively and adaptively add more polygons into my mesh. Simply, I just need more information to finely sculpt the details of my eyes, and the Dyntopo tools are great at that. So I'm just in the Sculpt Draw tool, and I've launched Dyntopo. And the first thing that Dyntopo is going to do when you click on your mesh, it's going to triangulate it. And if we turn on the wireframes, you can see that it's now no longer quad polygons, and it doesn't look and resemble like the structure that we saw with the remesh. It's dynamically added each triangle. So it's taking each quad polygon and it's divided it in half into triangles. And it does this, FYI, across the entirety of our mesh. So you now have a completely triangulated mesh when you activate Dyntopo. So let's go in and start looking at how we can use the Dyntopo tools to start giving us some more detail where we need it. And there's a couple areas in here that I want to start to flush out. Okay. Before we go any further, let me turn off my wireframes here. And I want you to look real carefully at the quality of the surface shading across my mesh. It's pretty angular. It's really getting gnarly up here. And when it's this kind of faceted look, it gets real tough to understand the sculptural details that you're putting in the model itself. So here's a great suggestion. You don't have to do this. This is something I do. If you go into the Dyntopo tools, down here, there's smooth shading. And I like that. Now it's going to smooth across all of the polygons. It's not actually running the smooth tool, but it's interpreting this as one contiguous surface, one continuous surface, versus a whole bunch of individual faceted polygons. And it's a little bit easier to see where we have big problems and the results of what we got. I'm in my Sculpt Draw mode, and I'm just going to start smoothing out some of these shapes. Since we have a triangulated mesh now that's a little bit more dense, I'm just going to take a couple seconds here and smooth it out. Still got my symmetry on, so what I do on one side is going to be done on the other. Make my brush a little bit bigger. I'm going to just change the plane of my jaw a little bit here. Okay. Now the first things that I want to do is go in and make a little bit more of a pronounced eye socket shape itself. Right now, it's kind of looking a little bit too uniform across the bridge of the nose, and I want to explore how I can start to bring out some of these shapes to make this surface a little bit more of a foreground, attention-grabbing feature in itself. I want my audience to be looking at the eyes itself, and I know that they're naturally going to want to go there, so now this is a good time and a great opportunity for us to be setting that stage a little bit. Okay, I'm going to initially begin with the Sculpt Draw tool. And I'm just going to start drawing here. My brush is a little bit too big. And if it gets real choppy, that's okay, right? If we turn our wireframes on, you can see what's going on. It's dynamically adding more polygons into the mix here. And it's doing that based off of the size of my brush. And what I'm looking to do, I'm going to smooth this out, make my brush bigger, smooth it out, holding down the Shift key right now. I've changed my smooth tool values to something quite low. I want to increase it a little bit. Remember, the smoothing strength comes from whatever value's on the smooth brush. So if you want to hold down the Shift key and have a really strong smoothing effect, just go in and change that smooth strength on the smooth brush. Yeah, okay. Now, up here at the top, this is a great example of a problem that we often get into when sculpting. See how it's getting kind of lumpy? We have a big curve here, and then it goes back, and then it comes out again. Well, we want to change that. And there's a couple ways that we can change that. And there's no right way or wrong way. There's just your way. And whatever your way is, it's just fine. So I think I'm just going to use the Move tool and start moving those polygons out. Make the brush really big. So I'm increasing an area here. Yeah. Another great tool that I use often is the Pinch tool. The Pinch tool, as one might imagine, is going to pinch things, and we can create some really sharp lines and some really intense transitions with the Pinch tool. And that's a really great way for us to create some super defined areas. I went a little too strong with it. Let's go back into Sculpt Draw. I'm going to add a little bit more volume up here at the top. Something like this. Yeah, there we go. Starting to kind of get the idea that there is some bones in here that's influencing that shape. Went a little too extreme on the back side. I was trying to create a little slope, and I like that slope. I went a little extreme with it. I'm going to grab the pinch tool. I'm going to pinch this plane here a little bit. I like those angular lines. As I orbit around, those angular lines are reading as a nice plane break. And this is really kind of the power of the Dyntopo system. If we turn our wireframes back on, we're getting a lot more geometry in here. That's really benefiting the sculpting process. Yeah, there we go. It's looking good. Yeah, I'm okay with this. This is starting to look good. If you look carefully here, I now have 3 planes that define the eyebrow itself. There's one right here, and then we have another one that slopes back towards the ear. And then we have another one that slopes in and transitions those planes into the head itself. Now, to reference, this may not be the most accurate to reference, but that's okay. I'm now trying to make it mine. I know that there needs to be a plane change in here. And I know that we want to have the illusion of an eyebrow in there. I may be punching it a little bit more than you do, and that's fine too. This is the cool thing about art, is that we all are going to see it a little bit different. I'm just using the move tool here just to kind of narrow some of these plane changes. I'm going to go back into pinch. I like the pinch tool a lot. It's a great way to very quickly establish some plane breaks. Okay, now let's start to explore. My work up top has caused some big time problems for me. Let's turn off Dyntopo. I'm just in the pinch tool. I don't want to pinch, I don't want to add more geometry. I want to start moving some things around. All right, so now let's figure out how we're going to work with the bottom side, because I've fixed the top, but man, I have not done a solid job in managing the bottom. And I'm actually going to bring all this down a little bit. This is an organic process. Sometimes you model something, you look at it, and you're like, nope, that's not working. That's not working. I got to go in and make some changes here. It's okay to make changes. I think sculptors are very aware at all times that our sculptures are going to change. Shoot, it's going to change within a session. You could block something out, and then you start to go in and go, you know what? It's just not working for me. All right, I'm happy with this. This is starting to look pretty good. Let's start looking at this transition here on the brow, because we have a nice little line here. Oops, brush is way too big. I'm getting a massive lump. Let's make it smaller. Yeah, I just had a happy accident. I wasn't expecting that to work the way I wanted to. I'm pushing in now, which is creating this nice little change here in the center, and that's really working for me. I like that a lot. I think that's cool. I'm just going to bring out some of these shapes and then smooth it out. Yeah, and what this is giving me is a nice ridge line, and that's kind of the direction I was going in. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep bringing that ridge line down. Somewhere in there. Yeah, now we're talking. Because if you look, now we're starting to create the illusion that there's another plane in here. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Sometimes you kind of stumble upon a solution that's just working. I'm going to smooth out the top here. I'm always trying to be really mindful of how these planes transition from one area to the next. There's always going to be these transition points. And I'm liking this down here as well. This is starting to really work. I'm going to accentuate this a little bit. Brush was too big. I hit undo. There we go. I'm going to bring this ridge out a little bit. Let's see. I may be losing some mass here. Let's figure out what the bottom of that eyeball is. It's okay to punch things and make things bigger than they're ending up going to be initially. We can always feather it back later. That's really easy. The smooth tools and the smooth operators inside of our sculpting engines allow us to push things back. I find it really easy and a much faster way of working if I really kind of punch the forms and then that looks nothing like a bear. But then I can go back in and I can add some volume underneath it to make that a little bit larger. And then I'm going to smooth it, make my brush bigger, and I'm going to smooth downwards. Yeah, that's cool. I'm digging it. Because now it looks like we have a really defined orbit. A little too angular here, a little too... Yeah, I may have gone a little bit too far in the corners here, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it for the time being. All right, let's go back in. Let's turn Dyntopo off. And I'm going to go back into my Move tool. Make it a little bit bigger. I lost some mass in here, so let's just do it real fast. Smooth this out. I like the general direction this is going in. I like this kind of curved shape. It's going to terminate into the nose, which we'll do in a little bit. Let's go back into Sculpt Draw, turn Dyntopo on again, make my brush very small. And I'm looking here. How am I going to... Yes, there it is. Ooh, I like that. That's cool. It's a little bit of lumpy here in the center. So let's just bring it up, and we'll smooth it out. Yeah, bring it up once more. And we'll smooth it out. Yeah. Let's look at it from a distance, see what we got. Yeah, we're not too far. We're not too far. This is a great process to go through. Because we had those sculptural planes already in place, I'm just now starting to layer in some additional detail that enhances those sculptural planes. Notice that I really haven't gone too far away from that model that we were working on before. I'm just trying to bring out some additional roundness and some additional volume that really kind of accentuates those sculptural planes and defines them a little bit more cleanly. Now, I think one of the things that I'm just now starting to recognize is that I lost that really nice chiseled edge on the top. Let me go back into pinch. Let's start pinching these together a little bit. Just moving my mouse up and down, and it's slowly going to start to bring all those polygons together. It's not a fast thing. You know, I'm sure you could increase the strength if you really want to. Yeah, I'm digging it. That's cool. Let's smooth that out just a little bit. Make my brush a little bit small. Flattened a little too much. Pinched it a little bit too much in here, but that's okay because we can always go back in and add a little volume. Yeah, and now that plane break is back. Let's play around with a second here about the tear duct, excuse me, in the eye itself. Now I'm just going to experiment here. Make my brush a little bit smaller. By making the brush smaller, the Dyntopo system is going to put a lot of polygons in there. Now if I wanted to have like a little bit of a tear duct in here and a break, you see that in a lot of... I forgot to hold down the Control key. There we go. Smooth this out a little bit. Those faceted edges are kind of getting in the way. Yeah, that's cool. Just a small little suggestion that there is a tear duct in there. Kind of goes a long way. Smooth some of it out. Make my brush a little bit bigger so the Dyntopo system has a smaller effect on that part of the model. And as I work on that, yeah, I'm already starting to see that maybe I've lost a little bit in here. Lost a little bit of the shape that I'm after. That's part of the sculpting process. I went a little too far. So I'm just going to feather it back a little bit. Push it back. Let's look at it from profile. Yeah, I'm liking that from profile. It's pretty cool. I think I might just bring it in just a little bit. Now, my brush is too big in this case. Yeah, just a little bit of a curve in there. I'm liking that. That's starting to feel like a nice organic shape. Now, the other thing that I'm starting to see on my eye is that I lost the indication here that there's a bone. So let's just pinch it together. I like to keep my pinch strength, kind of low. So I don't do it too fast. That way I can go in and control it, can move it around a little bit. I'm going to move it from the top. Be mindful that the eyes always curve back, both the bulb, the eye bulb, the eyes themselves, and the plane that makes the eye sockets. They always curve back. So if you're going to bring out, I want to bring out the top a little bit, the under part back. Even going to try moving it up a little bit as well. Yeah, that's kind of fun. I'm going to push down the center of the eye socket and then bring that lip up a little bit. That seems to work a little bit better to establish that plane break, but I've also, unfortunately, have lost the volume underneath there. Let's go ahead and add it back in. Yes. I'm digging it. How's it transition? Well, it's going to transition, maybe there's a bone there. It makes kind of a cool Y shape. It's a little intense, so let's just kind of feather it out a little bit. Make my brush a little bit bigger. The underside, see how it's a real sharp corner there? Well, this is the cool thing about our sculpting engine, is that I've made a great plane change, but then it falls off very quickly. Well, let's just go ahead and add some mass and some volume underneath it, smooth it out. Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're getting there. We're on our way. We're on our way to a nicely detailed little bear face. Hopefully you're starting to see the process that we can go through using the Dyntopo tools to start to layer in these additional facial details. It's a slow process. It's not a straight line either. Point being is that you're going to wander a little bit. That's part of the process. Be open to this creative process. There is no silver bullet sequential series of steps that one's going to go through. It's going to be a slow kind of, organic process. And if you're open to that process, you're going to find that it gets really fun really quickly. And for me personally, this is where I put the earbuds in, I put my favorite music on, and I'll just sit there and sculpt for hours and hours and hours. Because at the end of the day, you're going to find something that works really well. And I like this idea of finding your sculpture. I think that's part of the process. We have this digital lump of clay in front of us. There are no instructions on how to transform this sphere into a face. There are certain landmarks and some structures that, of course, naturally we're going to want to put in. But it's something that we're going to have to discover through our own process. So be open to that idea. And I think you're going to find that the detailing of your face is going to be a whole lot of fun.